Have you ever felt that sudden, almost primal urge to just get your hands dirty, to plant something, anything? Maybe it's a crisp spring day, the earth is just breathing after winter, and suddenly you're picturing rows of early peas in your front yard, maybe. Or perhaps it's a sunny summer afternoon, you spot a 25% off everything sign at the nursery. And before you know it, your car's overflowing with plants and, oh, that magnificent copper beech tree.
Yeah, happens to the best of us.
Now, that spark of spontaneous creation is fantastic, but we've all been there, haven't we? The enthusiastic pea patch takes over the entire lawn. Those bargain shrubs end up looking like a botanical mismatched sock drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And that precious copper beech, planted with such hope, is precisely where your future home edition needs to go, making it a very, very expensive problem to move, like 15 years down the line.
Exactly.
Impulse, while fun, often leads to unexpected headaches.
It's true. Landscapes, much like our lives, they're constantly evolving, and some unforeseen changes are just inevitable. However, a great many of those frustrating missteps, the kind that cost time, money, and, your gardening joy, they can often be sidestepped with a bit of advanced planning. What's fascinating is that for some people, the planning itself becomes the most enjoyable part. Imagine the quiet of a winter evening, new seed catalogs arriving, and you're just lost in this grand fantasy of a thriving, beautiful garden. It's a time to step back and take a holistic look at your surroundings, really define your vision before a single shovel hits the dirt.
And that's exactly what we're here to help you do today. Our mission for you, the busy learner, is to take a deep dive into the practical wisdom of Barbara Damrosch's The Garden Primer. We're distilling her insights on landscape planning into clear, actionable nuggets. Think of this as your shortcut, sort of, to creating a thoughtful, sustainable, and truly enjoyable outdoor space, no matter your experience level. So let's begin by asking, why does this planning stuff actually matter?
Well, when we talk about landscape planning, the first thing is to understand that it's not just about individual plants, but the overall picture, the whole thing. A solid plan ensures your entire property acts as a cohesive whole, unified and intentional over time.
Right.
This holistic view is crucial whether you're starting from scratch with a new home or maybe rethinking an existing landscape that no longer suits your taste. Or perhaps adapting to life changes like new family members or, say, a desire for less maintenance. A well-considered plan accommodates these shifts.
And within that big picture, it's rarely just your vision you're planning for, is it? I mean, Barbara Damrosch really captures that sort of family counselor dynamic. It's the classic scenario. One partner envisions this sprawling lawn, perfect for sports, while the other dreams of vibrant flower beds.
Absolutely. Or parents wanting an elegant setting, but the kids just see a giant playground.
Yeah. And then there's the tension between the dedicated gardener and the, let's say, less involved non-gardener.
Expectations, spending habits.
And even the family dog has its own plan for paths and digging spots.
Totally. And beyond reconciling those different needs, your yard also needs to reflect your personal style, the atmosphere you want to create. Is it open to the community or more like a private kingdom? Do you prefer wide open spaces or leafy, secluded corners? While perfect reconciliation isn't always possible, the goal is coexistence, enjoyment, and, a shared pride in your surroundings. But, and this is key, before you put pencil to paper on any grand design, the crucial first step is to take a long, careful look around you. If your place is newly acquired, the advice is often to wait a full year before making any major changes, just to truly understand the property's nuances through all the seasons.
Okay, so when we talk about truly getting to know your property, what are the top things people need to survey and understand before they start planning? What are those first steps?
Right. It starts with the absolute basics, the things you can't change easily, your property lines and utilities. Get that surveyor's map, find all the markers. You definitely don't want to build or plant something expensive on your neighbor's land.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
And more critically, locate all those underground service lines, electrical, water, sewer, septic tanks, oil tanks. Know what you might hit if you start digging deep.
Good point.
And look up any overhead wires that could interfere with mature trees down the road. Then understand your orientation and climate. Figure out north, south, east, west. Observe the sun's path throughout the day and, importantly, through the year.
Because that affects plant choice.
Right. Hugely. It determines where specific plants will thrive. For climate, know your coldest winter temperature. That's your hardiness zone. Know your average first and last frost dates, especially for veggies, and your annual rainfall. These vital statistics dictate what you can realistically grow and how much irrigation you might need. Finally, think about prevailing winds. They can dry plants out, chill you, or even knock things over. Knowing them helps you plan for sheltered spots or maybe windbreaks like hedges or fences.
That makes so much sense. So, okay, once you know what's above and below ground and how the climate impacts things, what about the physical land itself? The bumps and slopes?
That's where topography comes in, the actual shape of your land. If you have significant slopes, major grading or leveling, that should probably be done first. And maybe with expert help.
Right, before you plant anything.
Exactly. You might consider terracing with retaining walls for comfortable planting areas. Then there's water behavior. Does it gush down slopes, causing erosion? Or does it collect in puddles, creating soggy soil? You might need drainage solutions, or you could use specific plants for erosion control. And always, always assess your soil. Recent construction often means compacted soil, maybe even buried debris.
Ugh, yeah. Builders aren't always careful.
Not always, so you might need to break it up, remove rubble, or potentially bring in new topsoil.
Okay, at this point, someone listening might be thinking, stop, we just wanted to put in some early peas and a few shrubs, and now you have us calling in the Army Corps of Engineers. Laugh slightly. I get that.
But trust us, the point here is that if major earth-moving changes are going to be needed, it's always best to do them first. It saves so much headache later. Absolutely. It's easy to move a pea patch. It's practically impossible, or at least very expensive, to move a 30-foot tree or a large established vegetable garden. Do the big stuff first. And finally, while you're surveying, take stock of your existing features. What plants are already there, identify them, evaluate them, decide what to keep. Don't remove too little, but also don't remove too much without thinking. If you're unsure, maybe consult a landscaper or a tree surgeon.
Good advice.
Consider your views. What eyesores do you want to screen out maybe the neighbor's rusty pickup? And what attractive vistas do you want to highlight or frame with plantings? Think about lines of sight from inside the house and outside. And crucially, privacy. How much do you need or want? Fences or hedges planted early can provide that. As Robert Frost wisely put it, good fences make good neighbors. All these elements, from utilities to views, should inform that map you're going to make.
Okay, so once you've taken that long, careful look around and answered those fundamental questions, it's time for, well, the fun part, mapping the property. And you don't need to be an expert draftsman for this, right?
Not at all. Grab some graph paper, a long measuring tape, maybe an architectural ruler if you want to be precise with scale. You'll map your buildings first, maybe trace architect's plans if you have them, or just measure carefully. Then add all the other permanent features. Existing trees mark the trunk and the full spread of the branches. Shrubs, property boundaries, driveways, walls, paths.
Little things, too, like well covers.
Yes. Note things like well covers, oil tank pipes, even window heights as they affect planting near the house. Use buildings as reference points to keep it reasonably accurate. This map becomes your blank canvas, right? So you've got the map. The next big question is, okay, where do I start designing? The key here is thinking about how your outdoor space will actually be used. Just like indoor rooms, separate activities, kitchen for cooking, living room for relaxing outdoor areas should serve different purposes.
Outdoor rooms, kind of.
Exactly. You might have ornamental areas just for beauty, recreational spaces like lawns or pools, and utilitarian zones for things like compost bins, storage sheds, or a work area. Then, think about how these outdoor rooms connect. Consider the traffic flow, how people will naturally move through your landscape. Pathways and gates aren't just practical, they're real opportunities for creative, beautiful transitions. They can enhance that feeling of surprise or discovery as you explore different parts of the yard.
Okay, now for the really creative part. Getting ideas. Where do you get inspiration?
Well, a great way is just to drive around your community, maybe even others nearby. See what works visually, what plants seem to thrive locally.
And not just copying, right?
No, you're gleaning inspiration, figuring out a feel. And this is where you can start thinking about complementing your home's architectural style. A Victorian house, for instance, might call for a sweeping lawn, maybe some stately trees, large specimen shrubs, traditional flower borders, whereas a colonial house might shine with a cute cottage garden inside a picket fence, lots of herbs and flowers. For a contemporary home, you might lean towards something like Japanese-style planting or abstract masses of foliage. Think ornamental grasses, maybe cacti in dry areas, dwarf evergreens.
That's interesting. But what if you love a certain style, say a formal English garden, but your house is like a low ranch in a really dry climate? Does that work?
That's a great question. The beauty is you can often capture the feel of a style, even if you can't replicate it exactly. Use plants that are appropriate for your region and climate, but arrange them to evoke that English garden aesthetic.
I see. So adapt the idea.
Precisely. And yes, you can mix styles, but you need to do it with care. That Japanese garden idea for a colonial home. It might not look jarring if it's sited thoughtfully, maybe at a distance from the house, or if you apply the aesthetic, the principles of form and texture using native plants rather than sticking in, a stone Buddha that feels out of place. A little historical research can help too. It helps to think about the extremes of design too. You've got the traditional, formal landscape, often geometrically laid out, very symmetrical, maybe a strong central axis, using materials like stone or brick. It echoes classical architecture.
Very structured.
Very structured. Compare that to a more informal, contemporary design to think freeform shapes, meandering paths, perhaps more space dedicated to play areas or edible gardens. Both approaches can be incredibly effective, and importantly, both can still incorporate wilder areas, little pockets for nature to thrive.
So ultimately, your plan will be unique to you, your site, your budget. Ready-made plans you find online or in books, they almost always need adapting. And plans often evolve in stages, right? You don't have to do it all at once.
Absolutely not. You might start with the basics, trees, shrubs, lawn areas, and save bigger features like a pool or an elaborate rose garden for later. But the key is to set aside space for them now in your overall plan.
And how do you visualize all this?
Oh, tools are great here. Use tracing paper over your base map, sketch out different layouts, get outside, walk the site, use stakes and string to mark out beds or paths. Another fun thing is to take photos of your house, enlarge them, put tracing paper over that, and draw in proposed plantings. Or use digital programs, or even make collages with pictures you find online. This part can be enormous fun. What's really fascinating here, though, is that all garden making, whether formal or informal, relies on some core principles of art: balance, contrast, and unity. Think of it like painting a picture, but using plants as your medium.
Okay, break those down for us.
Yep.
Balance.
Sure. Balance in a formal design is often obvious symmetry twin lawns, matching beds on either side of a path. In an informal plan, it's more subtle. It's about achieving a visual equilibrium where different masses or shapes feel like they have equal weight, even if they're not identical. And balance goes beyond just shape. You balance color, light, and dark areas, different textures, maybe mixing soft, fluffy plants with spiky ones, like bright zinnias with pointy veronicas. Harmony often comes from repeating a theme or a specific plant group throughout the garden, maybe white dogwoods in spring, pink phlox in summer, yellow spice bush in autumn. Accent plants need to be balanced by this overall harmony. Then there's contrast. This is what adds the spice, the interest, the variety.
Keeps it from being boring.
Right. Exactly. Think of the huge variety in plant colors, the different textures of leaves, rough, smooth, glossy, fuzzy, or the distinct shapes of trees, a dense, round maple versus a tall, slender birch. Even subtle contrasts work wonders. New reddish leaves emerging next to mature green ones, or the pale bark of a birch against dark evergreen foliage. Gardeners often develop favorite combinations like vibrant pink roses against a dark hemlock backdrop, or yellow goldenrod with purple asters in the fall. And finally, unity. This is what ties the whole picture together. It often comes down to repetition.
Like using the same plant.
Yeah, using a single element, maybe clumps of white Shasta daisies appearing here and there, or a unifying ground cover linking different beds, or using a consistent construction material, like the same type of stone for paths and walls. Now, a crucial warning here, try to avoid planting too many different things. It's really hard to be both a brilliant garden designer and an avid plant collector simultaneously.
Tuckles. The one of everything approach.
Right. The risk is creating what the source calls a motley jumble, or amusingly, a horticultural orphanage. Remember, it is not a federal crime to give away or even compost a plant if it just doesn't fit the plan. Sometimes less is more for unity.
That makes sense. Now, one of the most important and maybe often overlooked elements in garden design is time. Things change, don't they?
Oh, profoundly. Gardens are living pictures that change daily, even hourly with the light. You absolutely need to plan for seasonal interest, what's blooming in May versus August. Consider how light transforms plants at different times of day. That Japanese maple might look handsome at 4 p.m., but absolutely spectacular at sunset if you've sited it correctly to catch that light. Even practical features need year-round consideration. A swimming pool can look pretty bleak in winter, so maybe site it where it's less prominent off-season. And crucially, always keep in mind the ultimate size and spread of everything you plant. That tiny sapling could become a giant tree. That cute ground cover might try to take over the world. Plan for maturity. This kind of thinking raises an important question. How can we infuse more imagination into our landscapes? As the source points out, if you drive through many residential areas in America, there's often a certain sameness to the front yards.
Yeah, the standard lawn, maybe some clipped foundation shrubs.
Exactly. We tend to save our creativity for the backyard, the private space. But imagine if some of that creativity, that personal expression, were to spill out in front, in full view. What could that look like? Our yards are actually these unique fluid spaces, aren't they? Sitting kind of midway between wild countryside and dense city life. And it's in these very plots, our own patches, that significant innovations in how we relate to the natural world can actually happen. A major shift we're seeing is a new awareness of wildlife.
Right, with concerns about species diversity loss.
Precisely. And even your tiny patch can contribute. Think about planting native species. Shrubs with fruits for birds are great. Flower gardens designed for insects and pollinators. Maybe even trying native grass lawns instead of traditional turf. Creating wild corners or interconnected wildlife corridors of shrubs and trees provides crucial cover, food, and nesting sites. Even just providing a reliable source of water, like a shallow bird bath, makes a huge difference.
It might mean letting go of that perfectly tidy look, though.
It might, and that's okay. Defying those tidy yard norms can be beneficial. Leaving a dead tree standing for woodpecker nests, or having a brush pile or some rotting logs for small mammals, these things are often far more valuable ecologically than hauling everything to the dump. The reward is that day-to-day pleasure of living with welcomed natural variety. And another really significant trend is the resurgence of the fruitful yard. Home food gardening is booming again.
Driven by food safety worries, maybe, and
Yeah.
just wanting better taste.
Both, I think. People appreciating fresh taste and nutrition and maybe feeling a bit anxious about supply chains or pesticides. What's astonishing is the amount of food you can produce even in a relatively small yard. And the beautiful thing is that edibles can be integrated beautifully into almost any planting design. Think of a blueberry hedge instead of a purely ornamental one, or a grapevine over an arbor, or even using something like parsley as an edging plant in a flower bed. It's about blending the practical with the aesthetic.
Okay, so after all this planning, surveying, designing, the big practical question is, how much should you actually tackle yourself versus hiring a professional?
That's a really personal decision. It depends entirely on your strength, your knowledge, your available time, and frankly, your interest level in doing the physical work.
But there are some guidelines, right? Some things are generally good DIY tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, if it's minor earthwork like correcting small drainage issues, maybe building simple, unmortared stone walls under a foot high, you can probably handle that. Drawing your own landscape plan is definitely DIY. Most aspects of vegetable gardening and basic plant care for smaller trees and shrubs, planting, pruning, tending, are great DIY jobs.
Building raised beds.
Building raised beds, installing a small ornamental pool, transplanting bare root or smaller balled and burlap shrubs,
Hmm.
establishing or restoring a lawn, making compost, monitoring insects, all pretty manageable for most people. Even sinking fence posts if the ground isn't too terrible, or building simple fences and gates.
Okay. But then there are definitely tasks that are usually best left to a professional, aren't there? Where you can get into trouble.
Oh, for sure. Think major earth-moving projects, significant grading, terracing on steep slopes, making proper tree wells around existing trees during grade changes, or correcting serious drainage problems. That often requires machinery and expertise, anything involving large trees, felling them safely, major pruning, spraying high branches, cabling weak limbs, that's absolutely for a certified arborist.
Don't want a tree falling on the house.
Definitely not. Also, heavy structural work like building masonry walls over a foot high or retaining walls on steep slopes that need serious anchoring and drainage, get a pro. Similarly, removing large stumps or boulders, diagnosing complex pest or disease problems, though taking a sample to an expert is fine, planting very heavy balled and burlap trees, or installing full underground irrigation systems, these are usually jobs for professionals with the right equipment and know-how. Putting posts in very rocky or compacted soil can also be brutal work best left to someone with power augers. The common sense approach here is really simple. Don't take on more than you genuinely have the time, money, strength, or expertise to handle well. It's all about finding that balance between enjoying the physical work and the satisfaction of DIY and knowing when to delegate to ensure it's done safely and correctly. After all, the ultimate goal is to, as the book says, plan gardens you will enjoy getting to when they need attention, not gardens that become a source of overwhelm or dread.
Right. So to kind of wrap up our deep dive today, the real power of advanced planning in gardening isn't just about making things look nice, though that's part of it. It's really about truly understanding your property from the soil up, designing those outdoor rooms that actually serve your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and embracing those fundamental principles like balance, contrast, and unity in your design to create something cohesive and beautiful over time.
Exactly. And this thoughtful landscape planning, it really is about much more than just a pretty yard. It connects directly to sustainable living practices, to fostering local wildlife, even to the satisfaction of growing some of your own food. This knowledge genuinely empowers you to consciously and intentionally shape your environment, creating a space that not only brings you personal joy, but also benefits the wider ecological community.
Yeah. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, our yards, they're this unique kind of fluid space, aren't they? Sitting right there between the wilder countryside and the dense city life. Maybe the final thought for you to consider is this. What small, imaginative step will you take to transform your own patch, however big or small, into a truly thriving part of the natural world, rather than just, a tidy facade? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope you feel a little more well-informed and definitely inspired to start planning your own corner of the world. And thank you, as always, for joining the Last Minute Lecture team.